in the case of Ronald Ventura, I think he's one of the best artists that we have right now, and he's not just appreciated in auctions, but outside of auctions, like in Europe and in the U.S. and even in China. They've heard of Ronald Ventura because of the auctions, of course. But now, mas napapansin si Ronald kasi nag-exhibit na rin siya not only in the Philippines but in Europe as well.
You have Filipino artists all over the world who do well. As early as Vitalis, you have Gaston Damag, you have the guy in Mexico, I forgot his name. Then you have a painter who was the contemporary of in the 60s, the Mexican painter. So you really have Filipino superstars all over the world. Hindi lang mas kilala lang sila abroad, just instead of here in the Philippines, just like Achillesan who's won a lot of awards abroad. But dito hindi siya nakikilala masyado kasi medyo avant-garde yung trabaho niya. But I think as the Filipino becomes more sophisticated, he's exposed to more the budget travelers. Budget travel has enabled a lot of Filipinos to travel abroad. They've become more sophisticated in their tastes. They're learning to appreciate art. And I think yung generation, the younger generation, unlike their parents, hindi na sila nangongolekta ng mga antique furniture or mga muebles. They're really looking at art because it speaks to them.
I think it's a good sign that our Filipino artists are doing great in auctions. But I believe that that it's a sign that we are now being appreciated by international collectors. It's good as an entry point for a lot of Filipino artists, but the most important thing that we should remember is what happens after the auctions.
Now, the second thing that I want to say is, why only now? Why does it take, very few, it's like the survival of the fittest, to get to the point where the right market price get paid to the right Filipino talent? And if he's only one of the few that gets there, what about the base of the pyramid? How many people don't get to that point? So I think of it's good, but it's also indicative just how long it takes and how much failure and difficulty it gets for other talented. Why do we have to have one? Why don't we have 20? Why don't we have 100 of the best Filipino artists out there? Why not 1,000? On a global sphere, I think Filipinos are one of the best artists and can compete internationally if given that chance. So Ventura is an indication of what price should be paid, but him being singled out is also an indication of just how few of our Filipino compatriots and talented painters are getting their proper price out there. So it's time that we get to that point.
Our artists in the Philippines are now getting the attention that they deserved because of their arts. Because I believe that in the Philippines we have the best in the world when it comes to arts. Kanya nga lang, we lack the support of government in promoting the arts, unlike in other Asian countries, especially in European countries where they get a lot of support from government. In the Philippines, sadly, kulang pa. We need to help the arts more to encourage young artists to perform better and for greater exposure, not only in the country but also internationally.
I think kulang pa. And I think it could use a lot more. It should promote a lot more of indigenous art. And that can only come when they support local museums. But also, it's not just the national government. Dapat yung mga local governments, may pondo rin yan. Dapat sila rin ay gumagastos na pre-preserve yung mga kwento, na pre-preserve yung kultura sa mga local units, local government units. Dahil hindi naman kaya ng national government lahat ng localities, lahat ng different types of cultures susuportahan. So I think we can do a lot more. If we look at countries, even in the region, they have more specialized museums compared to the Philippines. Tayo, very basic pa rin yung museums natin. We don't even have a museum of contemporary art. We don't have we have a national museum, but it's still hindi pa siya finished. Work in progress pa rin siya.
There's a place for young people who are talented to be able to have, a venue, not just an art gallery, but a venue where their talents are seen collectively. And so what happens is young artists as well as seasoned artists get to have a permanent place of their own. This is not possible here. I see a lot of art galleries, but then a lot of it have to pay expensive rents. A lot of it has to, it's just, there's no, we should have, like, just as there's an incubation center, there's also a center for the arts that's very strong.
Yes, it is very much a viable export, and it also can be a viable job provider, because if you preserve your culture, you preserve your art, you promote it to the world, then people will come and see. The Philippines has a very unique culture. We're the only country in Asia that has Spanish, European influences, Malay influences, Chinese influences. So that I think that's a very rich hot pot or mix of culture that I think would be appreciated by people from Latin America, from Europe, from Asia, from the Americas. So I think this is definitely one unexplored area. And in the next few years, we'll be seeing a lot more tourists come. And if we also promote our culture alongside our tourism, I think you can double or you can grow it exponentially.
Art in other countries is commensurate to national identity. That when you say art and artists and design, architecture, painting, sculpture, it's looked almost equally as a material resource or business resource. That as much as products and GDP is important to a country, and you have to make roads and infrastructure to make that productive, in other countries, they make sure that art, or if you want to call it, the competitive edge of creativity is a national priority. So I think this is what happens when art is not a national priority. We look to purchase art in design, in craft, in furniture, and we buy it. We buy other people's creativity if we don't create our own.
France and Italy, France, for example, has about 30 million tourists in a year. So, and in Italy, what do the tourists go to see? They go to see the Sistine Chapel. They go to see, they go to see the sculpture of Michelangelo, David. They go to see, artworks from long time ago. I think we should start already. We have a chance to start preserving our artwork, our culture, and presenting it to the world. It would be nice if we had a full-fledged department to promote our culture and the arts, rather than just it being an adjunct of education, because in education, marami nang ang problema eh. Hindi nare-resolba, paano pa kaya yung sa kultura, parang second fiddle lang siya sa education.
It doesn't mean that, one is greater than other. It's just that creativity in other countries are so more highly developed or applied into their products that we're left to purchase their ideas and creativity from other nations. So that deficit is economic, that deficit is real, and that deficit ends up eating into our competitive edge. So when everybody can buy the same machinery, it turns out that creativity is the greatest investment of all.
Wish you all the best, and this is one example of how we can help the arts by our own ways through the private sector. We get to expose the artworks of our Pinoy artists. Importante in the Philippines muna, no? We expose it to our countrymen, and eventually we get noticed abroad. That's what ManilArt is doing. that they're exposing the works of artists in the Philippines, but also getting the attention of the world.
You know, like ManilArt is a great venue where, artists meet. But why does it have to be just one time? Why can it be regular? And not only that, why can't there be, for example, a more structured way for artists and their works to go internationally? So customs have to be organized that way. They don't have to have such difficulty in bringing out their artworks to art markets beyond. Subsidies should be given to artworks, especially young people that are starting out. It's just that bridge where an artist begins and could be talented, and how many fall off before earning enough to be able to support their art.
Well, at a basic level, akala ng tingin ng tao sa sining o kultura parang maarte siya eh. But it's just, kumbaga, especially in a country like ours, which is somewhat underdeveloped or with a large population who are poor, parang sinasabi, indulgent siya. But really, no, it's culture and the arts is something that can bring us all together. It's part of national identity, especially in an archipelago of 7,000 islands, of so many dialects and languages. Culture is the one thing that can tie us together aside from language and history.
This event is very important. When I go there, it opens my eyes to the amazing talents that are upcoming, and the amazing developments of talents that are experimenting with artwork. For the artist, it's a place where they can actually find some kind of market, higher market for their artworks.
On a larger scale, I think, if you look at how Hong Kong art has grown over the years, talagang malaki siya, lumalaki talaga siya. Yung Manila art talagang maliit compared to that and to the art fairs in Singapore, no? Pero that's not to say that, but if you look at Singapore and Hong Kong, very little of the art that is shown there is actually homegrown. That's the difference with the Philippine Manila art. Homegrown, halos lahat ng talent dyan sa Manila art. Sariling atin yun. And that's something that's unique to us, no? So if we can get that right mix of international art to attract the international collectors, and then it will provide a nice window into Philippine art also, introducing it to the rest of the world.
Of the world. Congratulations, Manila Art. You're doing great, and I hope there will be more Manila Art fairs for the years to come. All the best, and congratulations.